It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. It's a terribly tragic day as a terrorist attack just happened in downtown Toronto with now 15 people dead and upwards of 15 people injured. We have joining us on the line Leigh Stuart. She is in Toronto, but before we get to her, we're going to quickly tune into a press conference which is taking place right now as Ralph Goodale is speaking. Now the police are speaking. Let's see what they have to say, and then we'll get back to Leigh.
We are looking very strongly to what the exact motivation was for this particular incident to take place. And at the end of the day, we will have a fulsome answer, and we'll have a fulsome account as to what the conclusion of this is.
Is this a terror attack, Chief Saunders? Chief Saunders,
is this a terror attack, or was this a mistake?
Well, based on witness accounts, we have a vehicle that started north on Yonge Street from Finch and drove southbound at some point in times on sidewalks, at some point in times driving southbound in northbound lanes. So it's very clear, just from a general perspective, to say that the actions definitely look deliberate.
Was the suspect known to you? Was that known to you?
There's nothing on our files. We've looked right across, and there's nothing that we have on him right now.
Can you explain to us? No watch listed on. No watch listed on.
Have you ruled out terrorism?
We don't rule out anything. What we have to do is we have to follow what we have. And because it's very early in the investigation right now, you have to appreciate that there have to be forensic investigations, digital and otherwise. There has to be witnesses, not just people that witnessed what occurred, but witnesses that may have information based on the person that...
It's a little bit to hear at the moment. I'm going to mute this one for now, and we'll get back to the press conference at a later time when we can better hear it. But I'm going to bring in Leigh Stuart right now. Leigh Stuart is joining us. She's on the scene here there in Toronto. Leigh, are you with us, and can you hear me?
Yeah, Dan. I'm literally just walking down Yonge Street, and I've never heard such silence before on Yonge Street. It is the silence is deafening. There's literally no cars. It's completely blocked off with tape, as you can see. And this is just, the feeling here is just so strange. This is not the city that I know. It's not the city that you know. It's just, it's insane. Everything's blocked off. It's very limited to where you can walk right now. I guess there is a press conference going on. Tons of police presence as I was driving in. They've cornered off like a whole school football field to... as a staging area for police. Like I said, there's nobody talking. The few pedestrians that are around here are simply just looking at their phones for any information that's coming out right now. And we're just seeing a very strong police presence. And I've never seen Yonge Street so quiet. It's such a tragedy. And this is not a city that I remember at all right now.
Yeah, no, me neither. I mean, that's where it's my hometown, really. You're right in my former backyard, essentially. So it's tough for Canadians, especially for people from Toronto. We are here.
Hold on, I'm just gonna interrupt you for a second. Would you mind speaking on camera about what happened today? We're just live streaming for
Actually, I was
media.
Outside and I was busy and I haven't seen anything.
Were you working today?
Yeah, I was working, but I was inside and I didn't see anything.
You were inside, you didn't see anything?
Yeah, and suddenly we went outside and we saw lots of police here, ambulances here, that's all.
Yeah, has anyone come to talk to you or anything like that? Have you just like, have you seen police presence, like anything, have you heard anything about what's going on or
actually,
any about the victims?
I got a phone call that it happened something around here, then I ran out and see what's happening there. That's it.
Yeah, and what do you think this is going to do for your business? I heard they're going to be closed for about a week to investigate what happened.
I have no idea. For 1 week, it's too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the feeling around here? Do you have any customers come by or share to you what their feeling is?
Afternoon, the customer is not coming as always. It's not busy.
Very quiet.
That, it's quiet.
Very quiet, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, normally we were so busy at that times, but
Mm-hmm.
over there.
Like it's very quiet. Like nobody's talking even. Just very quiet. I've never seen Yonge Street like this in the history that I've known it.
Yeah.
Very quiet. All right. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, it must be it must be eerily weird walking around there right now.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting word that this guy was a 25-year-old from Richmond Hill, went to Seneca College, and you know they're speaking now about mental health issues, and you know it's interesting how the narrative, they're so careful to control it in certain situations. Leigh, you're all too familiar with the Alexander Bissonnette case, where they were very quick to say he was a white supremacist and things of that nature. But in this particular case, you know, they seem to be saying, well, let's not withhold judgment. We don't know yet that this was a terrorist attack, just that it was an attack. But I think it's pretty safe to say this is a terrorist attack, especially when you consider some of the things like I pointed out in my earlier video from today. This is eerily reminiscent of the attack that happened in Edmonton, where a man used a rental truck to drive into a police officer. He then hopped out of the truck and there was a standoff with the officer as he, you know, tried to stab him. And then he jumped in his truck and ran over 4 more people. This seems very eerily similar. And that man was immigrated from the United States. He was a Somalian man who was being threatened to be sent back to Somalia back in 2011, and he took refuge here in Canada because the Canadian government offered him 1 year's worth of sponsorship here, Leigh. So what do you think the odds are that this could be one of these reintegrated ISIS fighters that Trudeau is so happy and pleased to bring into our country?
Yeah, you know what? I'd be interested to hear what his solution for that would be. Actually, news came out recently that said that now the government fears that there could be, you know, ISIS bringing in chemical attacks. That there's threats of that. Now, from what we saw in Syria, I mean, we know that didn't happen as they're saying it is. But after Trudeau kind of said, you know, the reintegration program and that the voices of the people who have left such a hateful ideology could be, you know, a powerful voice for people who, you know, might want to join or something like that. I'm just taking a back road here. I'm cutting in behind one of the buildings because, like I said, a lot of the police presence here have blocked off a lot of the street, so you can't access it. So I'm having to go around to access anything. It seemed like there was like a big gathering of police and media on the other side of the street. I don't know if that's where they're holding the press conference that you were watching before I jumped in here. But I'm definitely going to take a walk around and have a look.
Yeah, I'm going to tune back into that briefly, and we'll see if we can get any intel on where this is going on or what they're saying now. Let's just listen in for a moment.
Maybe you could address that because it really is. There's nothing you could really.
Audio for some reason is really low.
I think there's an ownership piece on all of us in order to enhance community safety. So law enforcement plays a critical piece, collaboration plays a critical piece, but also making sure that other agencies that have an understanding of community safety and what they can bring to the table. The education piece, making sure that members of the public have an understanding of looking at the environment and if they see something to report it. Today, by all accounts. The phone calls are coming in, and that's a good thing. But it is a different world that we live in, and I think that part of that is if we all inherit a piece of ownership in keeping our environments safe, I think it will increase the chances of community safety overall.
So they're talking about doing what they can to keep the community safe, and I feel that we have to be very, very careful here as a nation not to give up certain basic fundamental rights, certain civil liberties that Canadians hold dear to themselves because of something that is allegedly carried out by one man or even a group such as ISIS, especially when you consider the fact that ISIS is a creation of the West in the first place, folks. This is a point we need to drive home for the viewers at home who are watching this, that ISIS is a creation of the West. The only reason why they exist is because they received funding, they got their arms, they got their training directly from the CIA, essentially, starting back in Iraq. They, funding the rebels in Iraq who eventually went on to Libya and Syria and became what we know as ISIS today. So when we see these sorts of things being blamed on ISIS, let's remember who the ultimate culprit is and who suspect number one ought to be, we ought to be pointing the finger at, and that is and always will be the government.
Yeah, ISIS is created by the CIA, Mossad, in the MI5, pretty sure. But yeah, me and you were talking about that earlier, about what the outcome of all of this was going to be. Mm-hmm. What are we going to see as a result of this? We've seen time and time again, whether they stage these events or, if they actually happen and then they, fit the narrative to suit their agenda. What's going to come out of this? It's kind of too early to tell. I mean, but I'm just in shock. Like, this is, this is Europe now happening in Canada. The truck attacks in Nice, and we've seen in Germany, in London, and now it's like happening in our backyard. It's a wake-up call. It's very different when you hear about it happening in another country, but when it's your own country, it's like it's almost like you're in disbelief. Mm-hmm. That something like this could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm already seeing people on Twitter, saying things like, "Oh, we have to be very careful that we don't, speak ill of our immigration policies because of this here." When meanwhile, this is a perfectly legitimate and reasonable time to have that very necessary discussion. I mean, you even went down to Quebec and saw the influx of refugees that are coming in undocumented, unvetted. And like we said, we have no problems with immigrants migrating to this country. That is fine. That's a beautiful thing. That's what makes Canada Canada. But if they are properly vetted and go through the proper procedures, essentially, which they're not doing in Quebec, as you noticed.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what immigration policy? What we have one where, you're supposed to use an official point of entry and you're supposed to fill out the proper paperwork. But that doesn't seem to matter here in Canada. You can literally cross a ravine, which they've actually built a bridge over so that the illegal immigrants don't dirty their shoes. I mean, border patrols are helping with luggage, and our prime minister is doing nothing about it. Like I said in my video that, was posted yesterday about the Alexander Bissonnette case. If immigrants or asylum seekers are going to use an official point of entry and apply for asylum as they should, I have no problem with that. I have absolutely no problem with that. It's when you're illegally crossing a border, a makeshift border, and settling on the Canadians' taxpayer, free schooling, free eye care, free dental, free housing. It's what do we do? Stop paying our taxes. I mean, stop paying our taxes so we don't fund, because I mean, Justin Trudeau's not doing anything about it, is he?
Yeah, no, certainly not. He's just grandstanding and virtue signaling, at every single chance he gets. Now, tell us a little bit about where you are now. As I understand it, this originally happened at the intersection of Yonge and Finch and stretched quite a long distance south of Finch down Yonge Street. Whereabouts are you right now?
Okay, so I'm closer to Shepherd. You're right. He started out at Yonge and Finch and kind of was picking people off as he was going down Yonge Street. Yonge and Shepherd is kind of known as North Toronto or North York, so to speak. So it's like the upper side of Toronto. It's not quite downtown, but it is heavily populated. Lots of businesses. I'm right now outside of the Toronto City for the Arts Centre, which is close to Mel Lastman Square. This is a very busy area, very well-known TTC checkpoint for people who are traveling from work. It was around 3 o'clock when people may have been getting off work, or was it around 1 o'clock?
Yeah, it was around 1:30
So it was like a lunchtime, really.
Yeah.
When people were traveling like from work or to go get lunch or whatnot. I'm gonna see if any police are actually gonna be willing to talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will, but it's worth a try, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, see who you can get interviews with while you're down there, and certainly if any of the police are willing to talk, we'd love to hear what they have to say. There's footage of one of the police officers confronting the suspect, and it appeared that the suspect was brandishing something, a knife, maybe some sort of gun, but he wasn't firing, so I don't think it was a gun. But he told the police, he allegedly said, "Kill me," and he was constantly pulling this thing out of his pocket, making this motion as if to try to get the police to shoot at him. But the Toronto police had a lot of restraint, and they did a good job at apprehending the suspect, it seems. So yeah, if you're able to get any kind of a word from the police, it'd be appreciated to see what they have to say about it all. And I'm going to try to pay attention to the chat, folks. If you want to try to get in some of your questions, I'll try to check that out. But I just wanted to briefly take a look at this article that's recently out from Zero Hedge. Here, that is the suspect, Alec Manassian, age 25. Toronto police claim that Manassian is not known to them, and no motive has emerged yet, although there have been conflicting reports that Manassian was known to the authorities, which would not surprise me in the least if he was known to them. That usually is the case. According to unconfirmed reports, Manassian is from Richmond Hill, studied at Seneca College, and he developed an app called Toronto Green Parking Advisor. The driver of the white van is Alec Manassian. Toronto police said he's not known to them. Here's the photos of the man being apprehended after he exited the vehicle. This is a shot of the Ryder van. You can see the damage done to the front of the van, and of course here is shots of people, doing everything they can to revive the victims on the ground. Here we're looking at the area where he drove right up onto the sidewalk. It looks like it's between Finch and Shepherd, which is quite a bit of a distance that he managed to go on this rampage. And there is a clip here of Justin Trudeau with his statement. So let's just see what he had to say, although it's probably brief, but here it is.
Obviously, we're just learning about the situation in Toronto. Our hearts go to everyone affected. Caitlin to obviously have more to learn and more to say in coming hours.
All right, the audio is really low for some reason, but all he said was we're going to have more to say in the coming hours. Of course, as we said, this is still developing. It's just happened not that long ago. And again, I want to, I appreciate you being there on the scene. It looks like there's not really many people around anymore. is it just a bunch of kind of empty cop cars and police tape, or are you seeing any commotions of people anywhere?
There are people walking the street. I'm literally just taking the back streets to try and get to somewhere where I can, like earlier before when I was walking on Yonge Street, there was access to the business, some of the businesses, and that's going to be a huge hit for the businesses that are along Yonge Street. Like I said, I think they're going to be closed for about a week investigating this. I'm trying to find the specific area where I'm trying to get closer to Mel Lastman Square, actually, where I think a fire hydrant was knocked over, and it's on the other side of the street as well. So I'm trying to find a point of entry where I can cross the street. I'm probably going to ask the police where I can cross, and then hopefully talk to some people, because I kind of want to get the people's reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
There were people. I'm going back the other way where I was before, and because there seemed to be more population there, and like people just kind of gathering around and talking about what happened. So I'm going to head back over that way, and maybe you can look in the chat if anyone has any questions for the police, maybe that they want me to ask, or if you want me to ask them anything, kind of put the word out, and or if they want me to ask, people, witnesses or business owners around here, any questions that they want me to ask.
For sure. I'm going to tune quickly back into CTV post press conference to see what they have to say. Hopefully we get some decent audio. Let's see.
My daughter was on the park yesterday, and we were just so excited and just felt so happy to be here. And then today, just a different feeling. Very uncomfortable.
Tell me about what you saw, Ms. Jackson. I understand you stepped off the subway earlier this afternoon. What happened next?
Well, once we came out of Shepherd Young Station and we're walking towards Poyntz Avenue, we just saw a lot of people, police cars, yellow tape, going right up Young Street and then right around Poyntz Avenue, passing our house. And it was just frightening. You see yellow tape, you just think, something bad happened, but the yellow tape was going so far, that it looked like something big. And so as I was coming home, I stopped at the corner, and I was just asking a lady that was standing there, I asked her what happened. And she started telling me that a van ran into passengers, along the side. And it was just like, it just sent chills up my spine. It was just frightening. It was just very scary. So close to home. Very scary.
I understand where.
All right, it seems
where police
we're not getting the best of audio, so I'm just going to mute that one and quickly check out some of the chat, see who we have in the chat, see if we have any questions coming in from anybody. If you are watching this right now live on YouTube, be sure to put your questions in with a lot of big question marks. That way I can see it, because there's a lot of comments flying by. And we also are broadcasting this on Steemit, where I'm going to be taking questions as well. So I'm going to quickly refresh that as well to see if we have any coming in. Let's see. Somebody says, false flag or hoax? Why is there no video of the actual attack? No blood on the van? Just asking, says John Nuttall. This is a common reaction these days, Leigh, that we hear a lot of, is this claim that nobody actually died and we never saw any blood. I don't think this is the case in this type of in this particular scenario. I just saw blood on the ground. We've seen the people trying to revive some of the victims. There are times when that does play into the agenda, such as in Syria, with the chemical attack being blamed on Assad right now. It seems that the OPCW is not able to get in to do their investigation. The entire area is blocked off, so they can't even discover if chemical weapons were used. How convenient, because it seems that the whole thing was fabricated and may not have in fact happened. However, in this particular instance, I think it's similar to what we saw in Nice, France, and what we've seen in Germany recently, where a car ran into a bunch of pedestrians who were sitting, eating at a restaurant, And then what we saw in Edmonton, here in our own country, here in Canada, when a guy clearly took a truck, this man of Somalian descent, took a truck and drove it into 4 people as well as a police officer, and then got out and started stabbing him. There is footage of this, and I'm sure footage may still come out of this attack from individual cell phones. I don't think you're going to see that type of thing on the news, but it seems to me that this did in fact happen. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. And the funny thing is that, guns may not be open and carry legal here, but renting a truck is quite legal. And, that's all it takes now is to rent a car or rent a truck or a van and mow people down. You no longer need a gun. So, that also brings up the gun control debate. You don't need a gun to harm people, to kill people. You need a van or a motorized vehicle.
Yeah.
This is, what's the result that's going to come out of this? Self-driving cars? I don't know.
Well, when we consider just how ridiculous people are in these emotional states, I mean, is a ban on vans gonna come around the corner? Not likely, because that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, people can logically think that one through and realize, banning vans is not going to do it. Criminals are always going to find a way, and it goes the same for guns. Banning guns is certainly not going to stop a criminal from doing bad things. They'll always find another way. So, this could, that you bring up a good issue, a good point there, with the fact that this gun ban that we're always seeing them go after is ridiculous. Because as we've seen, if they don't have a gun, they'll find another way.
I don't know if you can see further, I'm pointing the camera kind of in the direction on the floor or on the ground, diagonally across from where I'm standing. There's some black clothing. They're leaving it there, and it's kind of markered off. So I'm assuming this is one of the locations. There's a stronger police presence than any other location that I've kind of ran into along Yonge Street. So I'm thinking this is one of the intersections where someone was mowed down by the van. There is a lot of investigators around, large police presence. I'm sure you're reminiscent of the G20 that happened here. I'm kind of feeling the same way, maybe not as much hostility from police, but definitely reminiscent of the G20. Probably the same amount of police presence. Just no huge wall, just some police tape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do recognize that that particular intersection that you're looking at right now. It looks. Yeah, it looks like the same footage we saw with the aerial shots of the helicopters. Maybe see if you can talk to that police officer right there on the left.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Cool.
Do you mind speaking to independent media news outlet just about how long the closure is going to be of Yonge Street?
I have no idea.
You're not going to say anything?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
I don't know. I seriously don't know.
Okay. All right. Just asking questions. Have a good one. Nice guy.
Yeah, in my experience, they're usually pretty iffy about speaking to independent media. If you get another chance, don't even ask. Just start asking questions like, "Hey, can you tell us what happened here today?" It's still not likely that they'll respond to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
We got some
it's
firemen
worth a
here
try.
too. I can't zoom in, unfortunately, but there's some firemen carrying some, I don't know, some tarp. But I think there was a fire hydrant that was damaged, so that's probably why they're here.
Mm-hmm. What time is it now where you are? I mean, this happened at around 1:30 in the afternoon, and it looks like it's getting pretty dark there. Let me see. It's almost 9
I
o'clock.
think it's around 8:30.
Yeah. So it looks like everything's going to be shut down for quite a while. Do you know if at least the subways and stuff like that are running for people?
I haven't heard anything. I have no idea. Let's see if we can. I'm actually trying to figure out how to get across the street. There seems to be more people over on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, I can't cross the police tape. I'm wondering if I'd have to walk, like, a few blocks down. And up this way, towards Finch, I'm looking down towards Finch. There's literally no cars, no police activity. Doesn't look like. Like I said, this is one of the intersections, I think, where someone was ran down with a van, because there's, it looks like there's, a larger police presence than anywhere else on Yonge.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's just eerily quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's much like a lot of the media in regards to a motive right now. And I'm sure, the police are going to be doing their due diligence, figuring out what this guy's motive was. But if we do, in fact, find out that it has a connection to ISIS or things of that nature, what do you think that might change here in Canada? Or do you think Trudeau is going to waver on his current immigration policy and the fact that he reintegrates ISIS fighters, trying to reintegrate them into Canadian society? Do you think he's going to think twice about that, or just carry on as he was?
I remember hearing when this first all came out that the motive was terrorism. That's the story that came out right when this happened. So there's nothing else that they're going about, changing the narrative on that one. But as far as Trudeau goes, I think this is all part of the plan, right? Destabilization of the West and order out of chaos, so to speak. I think, now we're going to have a larger police presence. Maybe, we'll see more police presence on the street for a long time after this happens. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I do think that not only an increase in police presence, but we're going to see a general clampdown on our basic fundamental rights here in Canada. And
hey, how's it going? Do you know how long Yonge Street's going to be closed for? Approximately? Have you heard anything?
I've heard days. So
Days?
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be open.
So what happened here today?
I can't really talk.
You can't talk about it? Just waiting for the press conference, basically?
The press conference over there a little while ago.
Do you know how I get over across the street there? Do I have to go all the way down to Shepherd, or how I would get over there?
Probably would have to go to Shepherd. I know Shepherd subway is still open. I think there's an underpass.
Okay.
You might be able to go underneath there.
Yeah. So is the subway open for people, or?
The subway's open from Finch. Now Square is closed.
Right.
So Finch and Shepherd is open. So the subway's just open.
And was this one of the locations where someone was actually struck? Because I noticed a larger police presence. Yes.
I'm the low man on the toll booth, so
okay.
I can't really comment.
Yeah, you're on guard for the. You're keeping the car warm, right?
No, I'm keeping the streets so people don't drive through.
Right. Okay, so it is a crime scene. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for talking to me. Have a good one. So yes, I just got confirmation that this is one of the. You like how I swindled that, eh? You just gotta be nice.
Yeah, nicely done. That's how you do it.
Yeah, so it is a crime scene, and this was one of the locations. He says that the subway is running for people, open at Shepherd, so that's how you get to the other side. I'm actually going to take a quick peek and see if I can get around quick. I don't know if there is any questions from the chat, or if,
let me,
anything else you want to talk about?
Let me see if...
While I'm walking.
Somebody...
Oh, I'm live streaming. Yeah, were you here? Were you around here in the area?
Yep.
When all this happened?
Yeah,
were you here?
Yeah, they just come now.
Yeah, you're just getting home now?
I'm trying to church to go to the top school now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
crazy, right?
It is. I think they want to church the people to get something that were there.
9, yeah, and then another.
I don't know.
13 now.
That's what they say.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they say they don't say yet, they look for it. You work for TV?
Yeah, sure.
Oh my. I think when you I don't know what to tell you.
This isn't Young Street that you know, is it?
No, but I just saw the Finch.
Yeah.
Maybe it was 1 o'clock. I just saw the Finch.
Yeah.
A few people was in the floor. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what was happening. We was in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I just come from the doctor office.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the people in the floor. I said, "It's no car. How come the people is in the floor?"
So what does Young Street usually look like at this time?
Very busy because it's lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
Very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Very noisy. Everybody's go for lunch. There's a lot of people. Yeah.
Mm.
Lots of people.
All right, well, keep safe, okay? Have a good night. She seems pretty distraught. And she wasn't even here when it happened. She's just getting home now and just sees the police presence and is really shaken up just by the police presence alone. Like I said, it's eerily quiet for Yonge Street. To put things into perspective, Yonge Street is one of the longest streets in the world and very, very busy. It connects a lot of Toronto. And a lot of businesses, and it's very popular. Lots of like bars and stores and shops and stuff like that, restaurants.
Yeah, and that area too is kind of more of a I don't know. I guess you could say the wealthier kind of end of town. There's a lot of nice, it's a nicer kind of area of Toronto up there, where this guy decided to do this, and we know that he was a student at Seneca College. Do you know where Seneca is located in Toronto?
It depends what campus. There's several different campuses. I think there is one up in this area. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, yeah. But I know that there is one like up in North York area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I think we're going to have to pay close attention to in regards to this guy's mental health state is whether or not he was on any kind of psychotropic drugs or any sort of antidepressants. Because we know that time and time again, a lot of these guys who do these types of things, we find out after the fact that, yeah, they were on these types of drugs that give you, these side effects of suicidal thoughts, and odd, strange behavior and things of that nature. So it will be interesting to see if we do find out that that's the case with this guy.
Right. Well, that came out as well about Alexander Bissonnette through his court hearing. He was saying he was hearing voices. He couldn't get it out of his head that he needed to save his family, and he thought his family was under attack by terrorists or by ISIS. And that he needed to save his family, and that's why he carried out what he did, and the voices wouldn't go away. And apparently, before he carried out his alleged attack on the mosque, he went and bought some alcohol or something like that, and he was on antidepressants. So that's allegedly the story. I'm not entirely 100% sure, but that whole thing was weird. That whole scenario is just, that's another one that's interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we've been tracking that one for, ever since it happened, really. And it was bizarre to watch the interrogation process. It was, did you get the same sense that I did, that it almost felt like the police were feeding him his lines? It wasn't so much of a confession as more so of them telling him what happened and him kind of agreeing.
Yeah, we actually talked about that when you had mentioned that there was the interrogation footage, and I actually found it, and like I watched it and then you watched it, and I was like, it kind of feels like I think it was actually the interrogation that brought it up to Bissonnette about Trudeau. His tweet and mentioning, Trudeau's immigration policy and the illegal immigrants coming into Canada. Mm-hmm. The investigator is the one that brought that up, and it wasn't even him. And he said, "I don't want to talk about it," and then started questioning him about Muslims and what his thoughts about Muslims are. I thought that was very interesting that he he was kind of leading the conversation, of course. Yeah, like feeding him information almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did seem like that because, as we know, one of the most important things for the police and the government in these instances is controlling the narrative and steering it into a direction that's going to be beneficial for them. So we have to be very cautious of the fact that they may try to do this with this man. But again, this is breaking news. It's very early. This just happened a matter of hours ago, so everything still remains to be seen. So I still not too many people around to be able to talk to. It looks like, eh? I mean, unfortunately,
I'm heading. Yeah, I'm heading on the back roads. Like I said, everything is blocked off, so I have to go around all these buildings. You can't even access Yonge Street at all. The tape is completely blocking it off, so you have to go around the condo buildings. Like you'll even see I'm coming up to police tape here with a police car that is blocking off the street. So very limited to where you can walk. There is huge police presence, and they're definitely controlling where people can and can't go. It's every other car driving by on this street coming up here is a police car. And like I said earlier, when I was coming in looking for parking, they've cornered off a whole high school football field as a staging area for police. To put things into perspective, they've got a huge SUV or SVU van and multiple police cars, I guess, where they shift change and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure they're probably going to be having more press conferences soon. If not tonight, then certainly tomorrow. So maybe we can, get an update from you if you're around, or see. We'll definitely be tracking this as it continues to develop and see what they have to say there tomorrow. As more information comes out about this. I'm just going to quickly check the chat here again. I haven't been there in a while. Let's see if we have any new questions coming in. A lot of comments. In Canada, we give murdering terrorists $10.5 million, says Imperafor7777. Somebody says, I just paid my taxes. Why? Big Boy Blue asks. Yeah, well, it's a good question when it's going towards the military-industrial complex, and these are the very people who fund and arm and train these types of terrorists and create the sort of scenarios in the Middle East for genuine blowback and for that to happen here. Again, number one suspect for me is always the government, especially when they've got their dirty hands involved in ISIS. As we know, we've exposed this over the years. I did a video on YouTube a few years ago called We Are ISIS, Here's the Proof. And if you want to see exactly what I'm talking about in that regards, folks, look that one up. Just go to YouTube, type in We Are ISIS, Here's the Proof. And you'll see exactly what we're talking about, how a lot of these things are set up and these guys are used in order to justify various pieces of legislation right here in the West, and to clamp down on our rights and to beef up the police state, because they can't just go ahead and do that outright. They need the excuse to be able to do things like that. And a lot of the times, these excuses come through these false flag type events where it's a problem reaction solution type scenario, where if you want something the people aren't going to go for, you create the problem in order to generate that reaction. And in the midst of that reaction, when people are feeling so emotional about what took place, you can then offer a solution that they will accept just about anything to ensure their safety. But who was it? I think Ben Franklin said those who give up essential liberties in exchange for security deserve neither. And that's something we have to keep in mind.
You know what else I will find interesting, and I'm gonna, we'll wait to see if it comes out in the next coming days, but whether this guy was known to police, because that's actually a common narrative as well. A lot of the time, people who do these things are previously known to the police. They've had encounters with them before, or they're on a watch list, or, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to certainly be interesting to find out. Apparently, well, according to that Zero Hedge article, there are conflicting reports about whether this guy was being watched or not. And most of the time, you find out he was. I mean, I remember the Canada Day bombing, foiled terror plot, where it was what was his name? There was a girl, Amanda Cordy, I think her name was, and I can't remember the guy's name, but they were completely entrapped and coerced and set up and were tracked and monitored by CSIS and the RCMP. And you'd find this a lot of times here in Canada, like the infamous Toronto 18. There was a CSIS informant who shaped and molded these young guys' opinions in order to get them to potentially do something. They said they were going to blow up the CN Tower. And then miraculously, the police here in Canada foiled this terror plot. Same goes with the Via Rail train bombing terror plot. That the police, again, foiled that terror plot. We found out in that circumstance as well that they were directly involved with informants. CSIS, RCMP, undercover cops were working with these guys for years. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this guy, Alec, what is his name, Matsian, had any kind of involvement with CSIS or the RCMP, or if there were undercovers who coerced him, shaped him, molded him, got him, pissed off enough to go and do something like this. That I certainly would not be surprised if we find out there was government involvement to that extent.
Yeah, more often than not, there is.
Yeah.
And it's just, those things that you were mentioning, the foiled terror plots, so to speak, they have the power to stop it. We know that they do have the power to stop it if they would want to. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time they actually do let it happen.
Yeah.
Like the last shooting that just happened at that Waffle House. What was that, yesterday?
Yeah.
The guy opened fire in the Waffle House, and he was also known as the same guy who climbed the White House fence and had his AR-15 confiscated by police, was known to police, was on a watch list, and he was still able to open fire at a Waffle House, months later.
Yeah, so, really. Yeah, it's amazing, how all these guys seem to be involved with the police somehow, way or another, and they, usually don't realize that fact until after the fact. But that's so many times has been the case. In fact, there's a really important video for people to watch that I made on this a number of years ago called "Conditioning Canadians for the War on Terror." I must have put this together over 4 or 5 years ago now, and it outlined all the things we need to be aware of for all the things we're seeing today, and how they entrap people by having CSIS informants who get involved with these guys and try to get them to do what they're doing. We got a few people in the chat wondering who it is that I'm speaking to there on Skype. Are you able to turn the camera around? Let's show them who we got on the line, and of course it's Leigh Stuart, but we haven't seen you yet in this broadcast. So, and we have been going for nearly an hour.
Here I am.
All right. So there you have it, folks.
Yes.
That looks much better, actually. It's like it's brighter all of a sudden.
I am standing under some street lights, so it kind of is brighter.
Yeah.
Few police here, and like I said, it's just easier to show, I don't want to show my ugly mug. I want to show what's going on here. It's much more important. But yeah, we've got police here, very quiet, same thing happening all the way down Yonge Street.
Yeah.
I'm almost at Shepherd. I don't think there's much to see. Like I said, the area I was in before is actually where one of the crime scenes is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a more active area where firemen and, like I said, there was clothing, it looked like, on the street that they had markered off and stuff like that. But I think police will be here for about a week. That other police officer I was speaking to said it would be at least a couple of days before they reopen Yonge Street, which is crazy because Yonge Street is one of the busiest streets in Toronto. Like I said, eerily quiet. And for this time of night especially, the weather is nice. It was the first nice day that we've had so far this spring, and people were out having lunch and walking around the street. And lo and behold, guy with a truck mows down people. It's surreal to me that this kind of thing is now happening in Canada, like we've seen for the past few years in Europe. It's now landed in our home country. So pretty terrifying, to say the least.
Yeah, it is, and it's sad. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and the family members. But this is something that we've been warning about and saying is going to be coming here to Canada. As I said, I've made countless videos showing the conditioning that's happening in the minds of the Canadian people, so that they'll automatically think ISIS terrorists instead of pointing the finger at the real enemy, the guys who created ISIS in the first place. The likes of the deep state here in the Western governments, who are really really responsible for this whole thing. Essentially, when you really follow the money, it always leads right back to them. And you always got to ask the question: Qui bono? Who benefits in these situations? Does this guy benefit? Did Alex Bissonnette benefit? No, the government always is the main the ones to benefit in these situations, which really should have you thinking about who you should be pointing the finger at as a suspect.
Yeah, I also want to make a point that I am a female, completely feeling safe right now walking on these streets, and I don't feel any sort of I've always felt safe in the city, walking the streets, down Yonge Street especially. And it's going to be a sad day, when Toronto starts to look like, or Canada starts to look like a place like Germany where there's no go zones, where females can't even walk, or police can't even walk in certain areas because of, Islamification or ISIS fighters or what have you, in fears of being attacked. I feel completely safe in Canada right now, but that's right now.
Yeah.
That could change.
Yeah, for sure. That is changing. And that's why, we've always been saying this term, this nonsensical term of Islamophobia, really doesn't make any sense, because as we always say, and it's good to reiterate, that implies an irrational fear of something. But when you think about it, there's really nothing irrational about having a concern with, a religion that's at direct odds with our Western Christian standards, morals, and values. And we're going to start to see that clash more and more moving forward. Unfortunately, like you said, it's so prevalent in Europe. In places like London, someone like you in London can't even walk around in the streets. And God forbid that happens here in Canada. But I hate to say it, but today may spark the beginning of the move in that direction. So, folks, we have to do everything we can to continue to counter, the propaganda, to counter the mainstream media's lies, and to let people know what's really going on and how they can better protect themselves moving forward. So, Leigh, we're coming up on just about an hour. I think maybe we'll call it for this one, because it's going to be a lot more information coming out, tomorrow. So I'd love to touch bases again, or I'll definitely have a video report out myself with some follow-ups. Any final thoughts on, what you've seen today? You're there, you're on the grounds. You got there as quick as you could, but obviously the whole scene is pretty quiet now. Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, like we were talking about earlier, what the outcome of this is going to be, because whether this was orchestrated, whether people believe that this really happened or it didn't happen, the most important thing is, the outcome, the problem, reaction, solution, the solution part of this whole thing. What's going to come out of this? Are we going to see a stronger police presence in Toronto? Are we going to see, I don't even know. I know it's not going to be, Justin Trudeau is not going to change his immigration policy. This is exactly what they want: order out of chaos. People on edge, people not feeling safe in their own community, where something like this could happen at any given time. Especially now that the warmer weather's here, people are going to definitely be on edge. They're going to think twice about going outside and feeling safe in their community, and that's what they want. It's fear-based mind control, and just don't be afraid. Don't give in to the fear. You can't be afraid, because that's exactly what they want, and that's how they win. So that being said, like you said, we're gonna track this as closely as possible. This is right in our backyard, and it's going to be the next coming days when we find out what the outcome of all this is, and more information about the attacker who carried this out. It's going to be interesting, definitely.
Yeah. So again, we are going to have all these updates as this story continues to develop. And Leigh, I want to thank you for getting down there, being a correspondent for PFT. Folks, if you're watching this right now, realize it's costing money for Leigh to run on the data plan to live stream to this extent. So if you want to contribute to her efforts, check the links in the description, and let's get some funds going so we can not only cover her expenses for today's live stream, but also for any future ones we do moving forward. So check.
Right, this summer is going to be a busy one for sure. June is going to be huge.
Yeah, June is huge. We got the G7 going on in Quebec. I'm going to be heading to Italy to cover Bilderberg. I've got a speaking event in Bulgaria I'm going to be going to. I've got another event to go to in Washington, the Red Pill Expo. And of course, everything going on in Ontario. There's a number of other events in Ontario as well. So June is going to be a busy one, folks. So if you want to see us cover these events to the best of our ability, definitely a good way to help us out is to contribute by donating or by becoming a PFT member or a PFT patron, where you can get access to the members only content, which I will be posting more of on our Patreon account, patreon.com/pressfortruth. So Leigh, stay safe out there. Go home, get some rest. We'll reconvene. We'll get back at this tomorrow when more information comes out. But for now, great job. Good on you to be down there. And to everyone who tuned in, I want to thank you for watching. And stay tuned, because we're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix and Leigh Stuart reporting for Press for Truth.
Thank you.